Now in this lesson, we're going to focus on reading and displaying the records that we created in the previous lesson. So to do that, if we go back to our app structure, the way we are displaying routines has a different type of design. So you can see our routine is separated into different cards. So I want first we design we design one card, and then now we're going to get the records from the routine collection, and then we loop through based on this design that we have created. So we just need to create one design, and then we'll put it in a loop based on the number of records that exist in the routine collection. So to do that, we're just going to make this card basically. So to do that, we just go back to our project, and we won't be working on the create routine dot. We're going to go to the main page in the main.dat. So if you remember in our screen, this is where our routines are supposed to be displayed. If you remember, in this page, we only added the app bar. So now we want to create the body itself. So let's go back to our project. So we have our app bar. So we want to create a body. And this body, most times, because the routines will come in form of a list, so you'll need to be scrolling, we'll add a single child scroll so that you're able to scroll through the list. And then inside it, if you look at let's go back to the app structure, you'll see that the items are actually organized in a vertical order. And if you remember, we mentioned that the widget that's favorable to display items vertically is a column widget, which also holds which holds children, rather than other widgets that only hold one child. So back to our project, we come here and add a child of column. Sorry. That we hold children. Great. So inside these children, we can create one simple card, but there's a way we're going to create a function that will actually loop that type of design and pick the the information of the routine from the routine collection that we're going to get, and set the different the data from the title to the name. So right now we just want to design the card to see how it will look like. To do that, first we need to call card. And then inside the card, we'll add a child. This child will have a widget called a list style. Then inside the list style, we're going to have the list style has different properties. It has the key, leading, title, and subtitle. There's a trailing and all that. So we want from the app structure, we want to have a title, to have this information on this side. Then we have an icon that's at the trailing side. So let's do that. So it will be list style. Title will consist of 3 items: the title, the start time, and the day. And you can see they are organized in a vertical order. So we're going to use another column. In that column, we're going to add the text, a text. Let's just hard code it for now, just to see how it will look. And then we'll assign it with the information that we'll get from the routine collection. So there's that. And then there's another text. This one will be more of another Flutter widget called rich text, because what we want to do, we want to pass both an icon, this icon, and a text. So the rich text can allow you to do that. So let's come here and add rich text. We're going to format it later. Just let's first insert all the widgets that we need. Text span, it uses a text span. And then we'll have children. Wait, is it children? Yes, it's already here. So we'll have children. In this children, we'll have a widget span that will hold an icon. Our icon is in form of a clock. So the icon for that is schedule. Let's see. And then we have a text span that holds a text. In our case, it's 7:30 a.m. p.m. I think it's 6:30. Right now we're just adding text. Doesn't have to be specifically that. Const. So rich text. Submit assignment. So we have the title, we have the start time. We need another rich text. You can copy this for the day. So we'll just change this to calendar, month, and just set a time, a day, like Monday. And then we'll give it a style. Sorry, not there. We're going to give it a style here. Text style, color, so that you can see it. Black. So we've just added the submit assignment, the title. We've added an icon, and then we have also added we've added an icon and the start time, and also we've added the icon and the day. Let me pass the same style to this one. So for now, we're placing the items, and then after that, we now design it. So in the list style, we have the title, then we have another property called trailing. For the trailing, we want it to hold a certain type of icon. So it will hold const icon icons.keyboard. Arrow right. So let's see how it looks on the screen. So you can see we have created a simple card. And in our title, we've created a column that holds the title, that holds the start time and holds the day. And we also have our arrow here. So we're making progress. If we look at the app structure, we've made quite some progress. So let's align the items to go to this side, and then do some few aesthetics just to make it look beautiful. So we take this and align it on this side, then just space things out to make them more beautiful, and then we can proceed. So back to the project. To align, you just come here on the column and say cross axis alignment, cross axis alignment dot start. If we go back to our screen, or not yet, let's see, should be able to, they just delete it. Oh, I have set it I set it in the wrong place. It's supposed to be inside the list style, sorry. So here. So if we go to our screen, you see we have aligned. So we just want to make small spaces in between, and then we are done. And maybe elevate the card so that it's more visible. And then we'll now proceed to the next step. Okay. we can elevate the card to 4.0. We can also set the scaffold to a background of white. Currently it looks more of grayish. And then let's see how it looks. Yeah, so far so good. Okay. So let's see, just small minor aesthetics. For example, creating a padding on the text so that there's a space. So we'll put a padding at the top and at the bottom. If you remember in VS Code, there's an easy way to do that. Then we come here and say dot only at the top. Just put a 5.0 and at the bottom, you can put a 2.0. It's about const. And then the next thing we can do is set the style on the submit assignment. Give it a style, text style, just the weight, font weight dot bold. Then the next thing we can do is come to the rich text and also set a padding at the bottom so that there's a distance between the start time and the day. Refactor padding only bottom 5.0. And then we can look at the icon. I think we can size it up a little bit to 16. And then can come here. Let's give this a space and also give this a size 16. Just a small space here. And change the font size. Let's make the day a little smaller. Font size 12. Wow. Just making it a little smaller. And then we can add a padding at the bottom so it doesn't look like it's fully at the bottom. And then I think that makes makes some sense. So let's try and see how it looks on the screen. Yeah, so it's close to our design. So we have our submit assignment, which is bold, the one that will be, that's the title. And we've been able to create a small space between the start time and the day. We have our beautiful arrow there. Now you can see our card actually pops out. So we have our design for displaying our routine. So the next thing we want to do now is call the routines that we have, the ones that we created in the previous lesson. And we're going to use this card. We're going to loop it. We're actually going to create a function that holds a type widget. And we're going to loop through based on the number of records that are there. So let's go back to the project. At the top, we want, the moment we load this main page, we want to be able to get the routines that exist. So we'll depend on the init state. here, this is where we can add a function, because it's wise to actually separate your logic into manageable and functional chunks. So we're going to create a function which will come and put it here. So that function will add it at the bottom here and say read routines. So we want to read these routines that we have created in the previous lesson. To do that, we say read routines, then we call the routines collection. We already imported it in this screen, so it's this one. So we come here and say final routine, routine collection is equals to, let's see, is it okay if I pass widget? Yes, widget.isar dot routines, and then we create another variable that gets the routines is equals to, so we'll need to add an await processor. So let's add an async on our function and say await routine collection dot where dot find all. So this is one that will hold all our routines. So we're good to go. So in this step, we're going to depend on these get routines. We can either create a variable that's global in the class that you can interact with, or we can just call this at the top. Either can do. So I think we can actually call this at the top so that we don't have many variables in the class. So to do that, we can just come in and say list routines, and then we come here and set a question mark, and then we come here, instead of saying final get routines, we just call routines. How about that? So that will work. So, and then because this is a variable that's been used within the class, let's put it inside a sets. I'm not sure if, no, that one won't work because of the await. Oh yeah, so another way to do it is to just have this variable like this, and then we set state. We just create another, the variable that we have created at the top, routines, is equals to get routines. That's the way we did for the categories. Let's just set it like that. Then we'll come here and get and call this function read routines and come and add it on the init state here. And it should be able to set for us the routines, should be able to set the routines for us, right? So right now we don't have a place where we are interacting with these routines. So we need to do that. To do that, we'll create a certain function that will loop through these routines. Remember, it's a list. So let me show you. So first things first, we'll come here and create a function that generates widgets. So we'll say list widget. Let's build these widgets automatically. Great. So we'll say a list, we initialize a variable inside with this type. And then we want to for loop. We want to do a for loop on the routines that we have, on the list of routines that we have. So we can say for int I is equals to 0, I routines dot length. All right. Remember, it's a list, yeah? I plus plus. I'm sure this will help. So there's an issue because it's declared as a nullable feature. Okay, so there's this, this is another symbol that's actually used other than the question mark. So what we want to do, we want to take this list that we have, and then what we want to do is that we pick every item, routine item, and loop it through this card that we have created. Okay, so what we're going to do is we say for int I is equals to 0 and I is less than whatever is in this list, loop through and create these cards. Okay, so we'll be generating a list by saying x dot add. Then we call this whole card. We're going to now cut it from here. We created it here so that you can see how it looks, but now we can use it into the logic and say and pass it here. So that means if the number of routines here are 3, we should be able to get 3 cards generated here. We're going to set up on the places where we have entered manually, but first, at least if we have 3 routines here, we need to actually see 3 cards being generated first. All right, then after that, we just return X. So we need to use this. So to use this, remember our column here where we removed the card. Instead of this array now, we're going to pass this function itself. Are we having a bug somewhere? Let me see. Oh yeah, I set the return in the wrong place. That's why I was wondering why are we having an error and we already have a return type. Great. So now you'll find that for build widgets, this build widgets will return a list widget. So all those cards will be populated over here. So if we have 3 routines, we should be able to see 3 routines over here. So let's try and run the project and see how it will look. So if we come to our screen, you see there are 4 items, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I recall properly, we actually created 4 routines, 3 to 4. I think I actually added an extra one outside of the lesson. So let's now set these titles and start times and days to see whatever we actually inserted rather than and remove the manual text that we have inserted. So let's go back to the project. So here we have routines. So we'll be passing routines index, the index, and we want the title. So that's how we're going to be passing it. I think the issue is with the const. Oh yeah, no. This is the issue of declaring nullable variables. You really have to watch out for certain factors. So here we have our routines. So we have taken the routines and then it's going to be looping per index. So whichever index is here, pick the title, all right? So if we save this, we should be able to see the titles now have been picked. So let's refresh and see. As you can see, our titles have been picked. You remember our first routine was send emails. The second one was submit assignment, clean the bathrooms. And this is the one that I added an extra one, clean the dishes. Awesome. So our code is working. So let's implement on the rest of the part of the code. So there's the time. We need to change that. So we'll say routines. Start time. Remove const. Add const here. And here. Okay, maybe not that. All right, and then let's add the last one, which is day. Save. Let's see how we have done. So as you can see, our routines have been picked with a respective title, respective time, and respective day, which is pretty cool. So we can say that we have actually been able not only to read routines from the routines collection, but we have been able to display. So in the next lesson, we're actually going to focus on now updating our routine records. See you on the next lesson.